Hello.
Hello. So it is great having you back, Georgina. I am so happy to be spending time with you again and doing our visits to your family and friends and everybody around. So we have been thinking about where this all started. So we're actually going back 2 years when we first discussed the fact that you might want to go on a gap year. So how did you feel and what made you think about and decide to go on a gap year?
Well, it was kind of a while ago, and it's funny because I never really thought about it before. Like, I don't know, I didn't really have anyone that I knew that really spoke to me about them doing anything like that or anything. And so I guess I just sort of, yeah, I just sort of thought I was just gonna go straight to uni. I was just gonna, do that type of path. But then there was this charity that came into the school, and they spoke to us a little bit about their experience. There was this man that came in, and he was telling us about his experience and he was volunteering in a country in Africa. And it sounded kind of interesting. And I was like, that sounds really cool. And so he was talking about some stories about the children that he was teaching. And it just sounded really exciting and quite fun. And I just thought, you know what? Like, I want to see a different part of the world. I want to go, like, do something like that. I want to do something fun. And so, yeah, I mean, like, obviously, it's not just like a holiday. It was a year that was a lot of work. And yeah, it was like I spent a lot of hours working, but no, it was very rewarding as well. So yeah, that was good. But anyway, I started off just thinking like, okay, this might be something that I could do. But there's an application, so I just sort of thought I'll apply, I'll see how it goes, and then that'll be that. I never really thought there was never a point where I thought in my head like, I'm gonna be moving out and living in another country like that. That just didn't really. I mean, obviously, I sort of knew that in the background, but I didn't really like think it, imagine it. Yeah, exactly like that. But yeah, it was just sort of interesting because I just sort of like, okay, I'll apply and I'll see if I get in or not. And then they were like, okay, yeah, we'll get in. Then I had an interview. It was like a 2 day long process. It was pretty long. Um, it was done online. And so I just answered a few questions and I was still like, well, I don't know if I'm going to get in or not. And just sort of never actually felt real. I never felt like it was actually a real thing that was going to happen. And especially because, like, some family members and stuff, when I was telling them, like, okay, I might be doing this at the time, it was actually Ghana I was going to, not Honduras. That was the country I'd been assigned. But yeah, and so people were saying like, oh, you're hoping to go to Ghana or you might be going to do a little thing. You know what I mean? So I sort of, in my head, it was just sort of not real. People were saying like, oh, you're hoping to do this or this might happen, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, and I was sort of like, okay. But yeah, I had a year fundraising process and that, I don't know, I guess like that, the fundraising itself felt real, but just what I was doing after that, it just didn't, because I couldn't imagine it. I didn't know what it looked like. I didn't know the people that I'd meet. I didn't know anything. And so it just wasn't really anything that I could actually form an image of in my brain or even like have thoughts about really.
Maybe just felt like a big holiday initially or something.
Well, I don't even know. It just felt like a next chapter, but it just felt like such a empty thing. So I just didn't know anything yet. So yeah, it was very much like a new and exciting thing. So yeah, that was sort of my experience. It didn't really feel like it was real as such. So I guess that's sort of how I just kept on, doing the next thing and the next thing, getting closer and closer to something, but I didn't really know what that something was at the time. So yeah, it was just sort of a strange experience. And I guess like it's not like there was any point that I was like decided, yes, I am going to do this. It was more just like next step, next step, next step. And I was just looking like so far in front of me because I couldn't look as far ahead, because I just didn't know. So I was doing the next step. And yeah, I guess that's just sort of how it happened. I didn't really have exactly an idea saying, yes, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah. 2 years ago, that's a long time.
Yeah. So how did you feel when I told you that I'd be thinking about doing that?
Definitely mixed emotions, definitely. First of all, I reflected back to when I was at uni. My exams were finished in June and my next term was starting in October. And in that 3 month period, I had the opportunity to go to Camp America. But I didn't know anybody who'd gone abroad to to do any volunteering work. And for some reason, the fundraising part of it never came up in my mind. I was just told as like this amount of money for doing that, for going across. And at the time, the finances were well out of my league, and so I wasn't able to consider that seriously. And so that opportunity was never taken for me. And I've thought about it quite a lot since. And so, from that point of view, I would never have said to you, no, 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 don't do that, because you would potentially then gone for many years of your life saying, like, I wish I did that. I had that opportunity. And now that I'm in this stage of my life, it's not an option for me anymore. And so, but definitely that was there. However, on the other side, obviously, I did then go into overdrive thinking, like, what services are in Honduras, what availability of medicinal care is, and what is there insulin available? Obviously, diabetics are throughout the world, but how many people within the area that, well, it was actually the Ghana actually, how many people in that area are going to have diabetes, and do people know about it? And do doctors know what to do? Is the supplies there? And I was just like thinking and thinking and thinking about how would you manage to get things if your case went missing, or your supplies got broken, or the temperature affected your insulin, and all these different thoughts. And so basically a parental worry of all the different things that could go wrong, because that's what we do. We think about the problems and then see if we can find solutions. So my mind was in that kind of mode, like, what's the solutions? What are the options? What can we do? So that's where I went. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when you did actually go out by yourself, and obviously you were then going from being part of a family, all working on your carb counting and maintenance and making sure you had everything that you needed at all times, to do it all by yourself. How did you feel doing that all by yourself?
Yeah, I guess kind of like what I said before, it was just sort of like, one thing at a time. I didn't really think of the full big, like, this is what I'm doing type of thing. It was more of just like, yeah, this is like, the next step, the next thing I have to do. So I was just like,
Taking
I
a bit
guess
of
just
time.
feeling hungry, and then just it just sort of, took my insulin, and it just sort of just happened like baby steps, I suppose. But no, when I first went there, like, I was definitely determined to make sure that I would like not have to just spend a bunch of time like cooking and stuff, because I had so much work to do. So I was very busy with the school, and I felt tired every time I came home. So like I didn't really want to be standing cooking meals at that time. And so on the weekends I was batch cooking. So that did help as well, I guess. Like,
Good plan.
I did spend like, 6 hours or whatever in the kitchen. It was very tiring. But that meant that when I came home from work I could just chill a bit more. I didn't have to, be standing in the kitchen and cooking. So yeah, that worked as well for me.
So did you portion out your meals into different containers, or did you have it in one big container and then just take out a portion? And how did you know how much you were taking? And
I had these like Ziploc bags
okay.
that you could put the food inside. So, like, for example, curries or soups or whatever, I would just put it in like a bag, and then it would just go in the freezer.
Okay.
And then when it was time to take it out, you could just put it in the fridge and then defrost it. But yeah, they say I'm definitely your daughter because you love to batch cook as well.
And did you have all the carbs counted for per bag then? So you
Hmm.
just knew when you got home that's what your numbers were going to be, and so therefore you could just like calculate it all really easily,
Yeah.
or it was all pre-calculated. Okay.
Hmm.
And did you keep a note of that and repeat the process?
I actually didn't. No, I didn't do that. I should have done, because I think later on when I was thinking, oh, I like that meal, I probably should have made that again. I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, I should have done that. But I guess, I don't know, I just sort of wanted to make sure I had all my ingredients used up and everything. And yeah, I guess I did sort of try and make it as easy as possible for me, but actually it would have made it even easier if I did do that. But
Keep a
at the
log.
time, I was just like, especially after like so much
You're so
time cooking
exhausted.
and
Yeah.
everything, and then yeah, I was just a bit tired. But oh well, I guess yeah, you learn from these things for
Yeah.
sure. But yeah, and you said before that back to the last question about how you felt when I was gonna go. you said that you had something in your mind about one of the one of the people from our diabetic team had
Oh
said.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was definitely another positive thing for supporting you to go and do what you were wanting to do. So when at the time of diagnosis in the hospital, the one lots of lovely, lovely staff were there. Honestly, I can't praise them enough. But this lovely girl came and sat on your bed and said, "I'm type 1 diabetic too, and I live my life the way I want to live my life, and you do not have to let type 1 diabetes stop you doing what you want to do in life. Just keep doing your calculations and, just do what you need to do in the background, but do what you want to do in life."
Hmm.
And so, yeah, that was definitely in my mind when we were saying, yeah, if this is
Yeah.
what you want to do, then let's see how we can make it happen.
Yeah, yeah, that's lovely. Yeah, that story that actually does stick in my mind a lot as well. Like, it was just the day I was diagnosed. Like, I didn't even know. They didn't even tell me that I had type 1 diabetes. To be honest, they just said to me like, "Oh, here's a glucometer. Here's what you're gonna need to have." And then I don't know. I guess I was just sort of just like in shock, like, what's happening to me? Because I just expected to just like, I don't know, go to the doctors, get told I was fine, and go back home. I
Yeah,
didn't expect to be, in the hospital or anything like that. And so I was just sort of like, yeah, I don't know what's going on here. And then she was just like very kind and sweet. And she just, I don't know, I think just her just sitting down, just having like, a nice little like talk to me rather than like, all the busyness of the hospital, people walking back and forth.
yeah.
Like, I'm just sitting there like, I don't know what's going
What's
on
going on?
here.
Yeah,
Yeah, and so I guess like that was really nice actually that I had that little, chat with her because it's stuck in my head and I don't think I'm ever going to forget that, to be
snap.
honest. 'Cause that's probably like, yeah, one of the first experiences that I can remember after getting told. Well, I wasn't even told, but after realizing,
I know
um,
what's quite interesting because I think they kind of each person assumed that you already knew.
yeah,
But no one actually said, "Well, Georgina, you've got type 1 diabetes."
no, no
We
one
never
said
actually
that.
had that statement said to us.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's just a case of everyone thought someone else had already told us.
Yeah, because I think like at the doctors, because it wasn't like, fully known yet, then they thought, okay, the hospital's going to say something. And we went to the hospital, then they probably thought because we got sent by the GP, then they would have said something, and then I guess all the nurses thought I would have already know and all
Yeah,
that. And I wasn't really told what I was getting tested for. They just sort of did those tests. And I was
yeah.
like sitting there, just like, I don't know what's going on. I was just thinking about going,
Yeah,
I don't know. I was just thinking I was just going to go home soon,
yeah, we
get
were
told I
down
was
in A and
fine.
E, and we just thought you'd get given us whatever you needed to do, and then go back home again. And then it's like,
Yeah.
okay, come on upstairs to the ward. And we're like, the ward?
Yeah, I know, it's funny.
So,
Yeah.
but you've come a long way,
Mhm.
and you're doing a lot of things independently now, and you're managing to get on really well, I
Mhm.
would say.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I think just like just living really and just, having each experience and just taking it as it comes and I guess just I don't know, just experiencing things just teaches you a lot just from living really. And I guess like I've been diabetic for about 4 years now, a bit over 4 years. So, I guess I've had so many experiences, so many things, especially just like going back to school, with being in the hospital, going back to my clubs that I used to do, doing sports. There's so many different experiences I've had. And just going through all of them, I guess I've just learned as I went, really. So,
Nice.
yeah.
Okay, I'm sure I'll think of lots more questions for you, but for now, that's been good.
Yes. Bye just now.
Goodbye.